another vlogcast. I'm Amy Mitchell, and I am super, super excited for my guests today. Catie, my lovely friend, we have gone back a couple years, few years.
Yeah, Newport Church.
Newport Church, and now we're in beautiful San Diego.
Yeah, this is beautiful.
This is beautiful. Yes, we think San Diego is pretty cool.
Yeah, well, my husband and I have lived here for a year and a half now, and we like it.
Yeah.
So it's an adjustment. I mean, it's very different than LA, but it's nice. We like it.
It definitely has a slower pace to it, which is cool.
Yeah, it's true.
So I want to hear, I know you're the founder of Pen Napkin.
Yes.
And you do a lot of amazing things, which I've seen.
We try.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pen Napkin started with a dream 4 years ago. It was just the name. It hit me when I was on the 405 freeway. Maybe that's why I love LA so much. But I was on the 405 in traffic, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks. And have you ever had something that just hit you and you've never forgotten it?
Yeah.
So, like, for 3 years, I was, like, racking my brain, like, Lord, what is Pen Napkin, and why is it such a cool name? I even took the ownership of it online to make sure that whenever I figured out what it would be, you know, something that we could pursue. And, so Pen Napkin now exists as basically a community of creative professionals that gather together to solve needs in the community.
Oh, wow.
And we had helped furnish the home of a family of 7. So they moved into their first home June 1st, and they were able to walk in, and their first home that they've ever had, and especially for the kids, was fully furnished. So the kids had their first dinner at a dining table. They had never sat at a dining table before. They each had their own bed that had never been experienced before. Yeah. And the parents were actually able to share a room for the first time, because at the Transitional Living Center where they lived in East County, they had to sleep in separate rooms because they had to each stay with their kids, and the rooms were so small that they had to split up the kids as well. So just an incredible experience. My husband and I were overwhelmed with joy and overwhelmed with emotion when we got to see their reaction, their response, and it's something that we want to do for the rest of our lives.
Yeah. So I actually saw a lot of the posts when you were talking about that initial putting all that together, and I just remember thinking that's so generous, and like how many people were involved in putting that together?
Well, we had, it was extremely generous. Everyone from strangers to actual neighbors to people involved in our church to local businesses all contributed to some degree. I actually can't put a number to it, to be honest. If I had to, probably upwards of like 50 people were probably involved.
Oh, wow.
There were people from Padres Foundation who stepped up. I met someone on a plane on my way back from a job in Arizona, and she mobilized 4 people that got to Padres Foundation. So just meeting her alone, she mobilized 4 different people, and I got an email from Padres Foundation, and it had a email thread of like 4 other conversations of like, oh, I'll send it to so-and-so, I'll send it to so-and-so, I'll send it to so-and-so, and then it got to the person that we needed it to, and just people's willingness to offer a hand, not even just money or even an item, but willing to network, like she did, where she knew someone who knew someone who knew someone at Padres Foundation. Someone else we talked to came into my office, sat down kind of really close to me, and he was the one who gave me the email for Lee Goodman, who works for Jerome's, who ended up contacting Jerry, who ended up donating all the furniture from Jerome's to the family. So that wasn't something I went out and got. He walked into my office and was willing to talk to me about what I was doing, and he just thought of, hey, I have his email. I've never talked to him before, but maybe maybe something could come of it. And later on, he actually told me, I didn't actually think anything was going to come of it. And that's fine. Sometimes we give hoping for the best, but we kind of believe that nothing's going to happen, and that's fine. But as long as we're willing to offer what we can in that moment, and the best he could do was give me an email address. And that led to a whole family of 7 having a fully furnished apartment. So, generosity can look like different things.
A lot of times when people think of generosity, they think, oh, someone's going to ask for money, which is helpful, and we need that. But how do we let people know that wherever you're at, no matter what your income bracket is, whether you think, I've got so little or I've got so much, why would you even need me to get involved? How can we break that stigma of generosity, that it's all levels and all contributions?
Yeah, I think you apply it to your own capacity, generosity looks different for me than it does for you. It looks different from you to a millionaire, you know, and even a millionaire isn't necessarily going to give you money.
Yeah.
You know, maybe their capacity isn't there, but they're able to supply you a location or a name or, you know, a boat or whatever. And I think wherever you're at with your capacity and your ability to give, I think you just kind of identify your talents, you identify your gifts, and you start with that. So it reminds me, I don't know if we wanted to talk about this right now, but it reminds me of the story in the Bible where I think it's called the woman's offering, and it's found in Luke, and it's also found in Mark. And this woman comes to give her offering, and she has but 2 small copper coins. It's found Luke 21 verse 2. She has but 2 small copper coins, and she puts that in as her offering. And Jesus' response to that is that she's put in all she had to live on. And she's given more than some of the others who were giving kind of their wealth and within their wealth. And it's one thing to give when you have the ability to give. It's another to give when you're maybe not able to, or you don't think you can. And for a woman who was obviously poor, she's a widow, and back then when you were a widow, you kind of lost ownership of your land, ownership of maybe your business. So she really had nothing to her name, but she had 2 coins, and she was willing to give that to the Lord, and God blessed that. And I think generosity comes down to a heart issue, the condition of the heart. And so when I say capacity, I'm not necessarily saying the capacity of your wallet. I'm saying the capacity of your heart's ability to give.
That's good.
And that's where we were at. We started with Pen Napkin being a dream, and when I got that phone call from Brennan, the mother of the family, and she was so desperate for help, I didn't question it. I just said, yes. I can. Because although I did not have all the furniture she needed at the time, and although I didn't have the money to pay for the furniture, I didn't even know anyone at the time that could do it. I believed that God would provide. And I knew that in my capacity, I could help. And whether that looked like mobilizing people, or whether that looked like going on Craigslist and finding as many items for free as possible, I didn't care what it looked like at the moment. I just wanted to be a part of her story, and also be a part of God's provision in her life.
That's awesome. Well,
and God provided.
He does, and it really is a matter of the heart, because sometimes all it takes is that first step. Like, you didn't have all the resources, you didn't have all the money that you needed, but you said yes, and your heart said yes. And yes, there's a lot of there's people that are very wealthy out there that say no, and so it doesn't matter, like you were saying, what your wallet size is. Like, what is your heart size?
I think God's calling us to be intentional with our gifts and with our giving. So I think that would be my first challenge for anyone listening or watching, would just be to embrace that as an opportunity to really be intentional. When you have a phone call, or you see a post online where someone says, hey, I need help with this, or do you know anyone that can give towards this? Don't just write it off as another, GoFundMe account, or, don't write that off. Ask yourself, is this something that is in your capacity to be moved by? And if so, what does that look like? Does it look like, going on the account and swiping your card and being done with it? Or does it look like calling that person up and being like, how else can I help? I don't have the ability to give money. I don't even have items to donate, but what can I do to help? Because I know for me, if I had people calling me for Pen Napkin, just being willing to offer a hand, I would be so overwhelmed and so grateful, because Corey and I ran that first project almost solo. We had a few volunteers that showed up the day of that. Honestly, I could not have done the whole project without. They were amazing, and I really appreciate them. But if we could have had more hands, it wouldn't have been as stressful. It could have been more enjoyed. And I really want to challenge people with that as well. It's not just to write off the opportunity to give, but to really be intentional about the opportunities that God puts in front of us.
Well, that is your homework this week. Find a place that you can be generous with. And yes, it's not just your money. It's with your time. It's with your heart. It's with your love. It's with your compassion. So find an area that is in your world, and find a way to be generous in that. Before we leave, how can people get in contact with you? What's your website?
Oh, awesome. Yeah, our website's really easy. It's pennapkin.org. So just go online and go to www.pen, singular, and napkin.org. O-R-G.
Awesome.
Did I say com before?
I think you said org.
I think I might have said com.
I think they got it.
You got it?
They got org. You could actually purchase org and com.
I did, but I don't know how to link them.
I do. See? We're helping each other out.
Yeah, and all the information's on there. Facebook and my contact information if you're interested. So
perfect.
Yeah.
All right.
And there you go.
Good.
That was a goofy one.